All right guys, Adrian here, and this is another Brute Shoot. Today we're just kind of going over the open, right? 2018 is over competitively for a lot of you athletes. And so right now, this is the time where hopefully you are going back and you're reflecting on your scores. And not only are you reflecting on your scores, not just in comparison to the masses, but you're reflecting on them in comparison to your own capacities previously, right? Whether that is in comparison to a workout like Diane, whether it's the repeat 18.5 that we had done 2 other times in 2011 and 2012, or if it's just you knowing rational benchmark numbers like your max clean that you might have PR'd in the open. The goal is for us to think about creating a natural assessment within the open itself, right? These tests are something that we can revisit throughout the year as we start to have our vision on the training. But not only an assessment of you, but an assessment of the overall big picture of what Mr. Castro and CrossFit as an entity is actually testing for. And I think this year with the open, we can understand that the open is what we thought it was always, right? Like you've got to be good at gymnastics. You have to be good at barbell cycling and have a decent amount of local muscle endurance so that you can continue through some nasty rep schemes. And then you've also, to a degree, have to be great at just suffering, right? We think about burpees, we think about the thruster and all these things, right? So think about gymnastics cycling, barbell cycling, and the ability to breathe. Is it important for you to be strong? Yes, and clearly that was something that set back several athletes, at least athletes that I've interacted with, whether it's via some of my emails and check-ins or via some of the Brute community pages that we have. A lot of athletes were like, Coach, I had such a setback on the strength work. But the truth is, even if you look at some of the top competitors, venture up to the leaderboard and look at some of the top finishers and where their numbers were versus some of their other scores. Like we have athletes that are finishing like 20, and then their clean max was like 300, right? And why is that? It's because what we notice is that a lot of people notoriously within our own community love to get strong and love to train with heavy barbells, but not so much at suffering, right? So what I would encourage you guys to keep in mind is that there's always this balance and there's always going to be a little bit of a skew when it comes to those 1 rep max lifts. I'm not saying don't focus on it because you do need to be strong and there's some low hanging fruit in strength numbers. So train those things, but also don't give it more value than it deserves when you notice that even a lot of the athletes that finished in the top 10 of the world had a pretty dramatic setback on that one particular score. Another thing that we need to take in consideration is the changing of standards and the way that they adapt as we go. Look back at 18.4, that caused a lot of people some serious issues, right? And now we're talking, is it fair? Is it unfair? The truth is, it is what it is. And we have to do our best as athletes and as coaches to adapt and be able to move and adapt on the fly so that we can make sure that we're making up for whether it's an anthropometric limitation or if it is the inability to really lock out at the top, which makes you get several no reps. Doesn't matter what it is, we have to do our just in order to prepare you guys for such a test. So I think that was one thing that even snuck up on me as a Brute coach, and I thought that we were training the right way by preparing our athletes for the previous year's test. Yet there was something inside of me, and I don't have the ability to tell the future, I don't have the ability to do anything, but there's always been something that just wants me to have the athletes always train the handstand push-up in the biggest disadvantage possible. So what that means is, like, even though we had that box previously, I myself as a training athlete always had the mindset that I would like to have my hands basically directly underneath my shoulders all the time, even though I have longer arms. It made it really hard for me, but it made me train in such a way that then I was always prepared for like the worst standard that was going to be thrown at me. And so I don't think I did a good job at conveying that to my athletes this year, and I really feel like I needed to take on a lot of that burden. So not only did you guys learn something from that standard, coaches learned something from that standard change as well. So what do we do moving forward, right? Take this test and think about the ways that they've tested us in whole. I think that we notoriously see that the cream rises to the top all the time. So what can we expect in 2019 and how do we prepare for that? That's the big question that a lot of you need to assess. And what I want you to do is go back, look at your scores. If you have previous year scores, look at those. Take note that I'm sure that you got fitter, but understand that the community is moving with you, if not at a faster rate than you. So we have to have that as motivation internally and understand that just because you didn't improve your ranking in the region doesn't mean that you didn't improve your fitness, and that's all we can control. So focus on you, focus on what you can control, and establish some goals based off these numbers, right? Think about a workout like 18.5 where a lot of people They were breathing really hard, but their limitation may have been chest to bar pull-ups, right? Like literally they had to drop off the bar because of grip fatigue, or they couldn't get their chest up to the bar continuously. They had to break up the sets tremendously. You name it, whatever that is, that's a local muscle and or a skill adaptation that we need to focus on. Versus there could be people that are like, coach, I'm light, I'm a bodyweight ninja, I was crushing the chest to bars, the thrusters gave me a little bit of an issue, but to be honest, I just couldn't breathe, right? That is a cardiovascular limitation, and they need to be focused on more general work capacity and not so much the skill development. But right now, the unique thing is both those athletes need to be focusing on those things specifically that they need. So those two athletes probably should be on either some kind of different track or different training programs all together than each other. So where are you at and what do you need to emphasize? A lot of times people this time of year are going to be spending time lifting heavy weights just out of the thought that that's what they need to be doing, right? In the off season, we get strong. That's great. But what's really going to move the needle for your fitness in the 2019 Open is focusing on your specific weaknesses. So work on doing that. If you guys don't know where to start, clearly Brute Strength will help you. All you got to do is dive in, do 2 weeks of testing, and we're going to put you exactly in a program that your results tell us exactly what you need and get you going in the right direction. So 2019, a lot of people already have that in that horizon or in their vision, and they're training for it wholeheartedly. Take the data that we saw, take the data that you put out on that paper, and let's go ahead and set some goals for the year to come.